I think one of the larger purposes of education in the United States is to prepare students for life in a diverse democracy. And being a participant in a diverse democracy means that you are able to consume information, think clearly about that information, and think for yourself and be able to think collaboratively with other people. And so I think schools have to play an active role in preparing children to be active members of our diverse democracy. And I think that digital citizenship is an essential component of that work in the year 2023 and beyond, because so much of the material that we consume is no longer just in books, but it's online, in social media. And so this needs to be an integrated part of a child's experience in order to have them be prepared to be active agents in our democracy.
I want you to figure out which of these screenshots is information and which of these is misinformation.
What we've been really focused on is the ethics of it. You know, what does it mean to be an ethical user of technology? How does this fundamentally change the way that we live with one another? And so I think that's been an aim and a focus that we've been taken seriously since the integration of more technology into the school setting. And then we've relied on our librarian, who has a specialty in consuming media and media literacy, to really take the lead on that at our school. It does not mean it's just done in isolation. We don't just teach digital citizenship through our library program. It's interwoven into all of our units of study and just the school culture here. But she can really take a deep dive with kids and use her expertise and all the resources that are found in the library to help kids to focus on more specific aspects of what this looks like information, misinformation. How do you tell what's a credible source, a non-credible source? What does it mean to live in community with one another when we're living in this digital world? Is this an extension of myself? So there are larger philosophical and ethical questions that we want kids to be thinking about as they're interacting with this medium that's so much a part of our day-to-day lives.
I think of it as an 8-year program. So with the youngest students, we really just build comfort and confidence in the library, right? It's like learning who they are as a reader, articulating what they like, you know, circulating books, materials management, all of the things that comes with just using a library. And when they get to 4th grade, it shifts to research skills, discernment, information literacy. So information literacy is kind of the umbrella term I use, under which like research skills fall, verification, media literacy, all of that kind of falls under my information literacy umbrella.
I think a librarian's role is really about collaborating with teachers and finding out, you know, what are you trying to teach your students? How do you want to do it? And how can we make sure that we fuse the lessons with digital literacy lessons so that the students are safe online and that they are good citizens online and that they can effectively search. So when I work with teachers, it's a lot of, you know, just really collaborating with them and not trying to shove my things down, you know, my agenda down their throat, but how can I support you? And how can I make sure that our students are learning in a safe and effective manner? Really looking at, okay, what are the students gonna do? What is their gut instinct on how they're gonna search? And then trying to put in the lessons to make sure that they do it safely and effectively. We have a lot of students that don't realize that they are plagiarizing, for example. And so we had to go back and think, how did we even learn to put things into our own words? And so a lot of this was taking a step back. And how did we learn to do these kinds of things?
Children are entirely capable of the same type of discernment and the same type of critical thinking that high schoolers are being asked to apply when they're on social media and when they're researching. So I think the question is like, how soon can we teach this? And it's not just when and how do we teach this, but it's like we can actually start very early, because I have 4th and 5th grade students who are able to discern misinformation from information quite fluently. Red flags, or how do we know? Go ahead.
Well, so like for that one, we decided to like look up their names and see if we could find that exact picture with the different caption, and we found it, and it said that it was a immigration agreement.
So maybe there's a little bit of a fear that like exposing children to misinformation or information, that maybe you're going to give them the wrong impression. Like, you know, kids are so impressionable, maybe they won't understand the, you know, line between information and misinformation, but that's not true. They're really, really capable of it. If you wait until children are in high school, it's too late.
The first thing I always do is I'll have them, okay, so give me a topic. And they'll give me a topic and we'll look at the first site that comes up. Because a lot of times they don't realize that sometimes it can be a sponsored page, right? Or they're paying to be at the top of search engines. And so, you know, we'll look at it, well, is this credible, right? And so that's why it's really taking it where the students might go and then taking them to and seeing, well, is this effective? And so, you know, we'll give them different kinds of tools, different tests that they can use that are really simple, like checklists, like can you look at the organization? Is this a biased or unbiased organization? You know, like, are the links even can you click on them? Are they gonna work, you know? Because sometimes those are the things. And the greatest example was the tree octopus. And so I took the kids to that and I'm like, okay, you guys have some background knowledge of octopus. Do they live in trees, out in the air? And no, right? They understand that, especially being in Hawaii, they grew up right in the ocean and things like that. And so I said, okay, so but does this look credible? You know, and there's links on there. It looks very scientific, but they knew with their background knowledge that that couldn't be correct. So that's why I tell them, you know, okay, so if you knew that, but what about something that you have no background knowledge of, and then you're doing the research, and that's why it's really important to then be able to know how to find credible sources.
A source, a credible source, would be someone who knows a lot about this topic or someone who lives in this area and has experienced this.
Taking the tools that the search engines provide, limiting the years so that you're not looking at sources from the 1950s when you're trying to say look for medical information, then it's probably outdated. So limiters, looking at different, even simple things like they're trying to find images from a certain era and they're looking at, and I'm telling them, you have to make sure that these images are actually appropriate for what you're looking for, you know, and that you make sure that you're following copyright laws. A lot of them will just, oh, it's just a picture, it's okay, you know, and so teaching them about copyright and things like that, it's a pretty big and vast thing when you're trying to teach the students about these things.
Okay, so first screenshot, information or misinformation? Gorgeous. Second screenshot, information or misinformation?
Information.
Excellent, you all pass. I would hope that the skills I'm teaching them now are not just applicable in research, that they're applicable when they're on their phones or when they're on their computers. I have had feedback from students saying, you know, I was on TikTok and I saw a video that said it was from the conflict in Ukraine and it looked weird and I was kind of like suspicious of it, and then it turned out it was, you know, repurposed footage from a video game. So that was very validating because that was things that we had talked about in class, like I'm just asking you to verify, you know, this article, this screenshot, but they're using the same type of healthy suspicion and trying to find it on a different website and who's the author and is this repurposed or is this a video from 2016 that's, you know, repurposed to make it look like it was from yesterday. So they're using those same types of skills. I think that's why maybe it's so important to really drill in on this concept so early so that by the time they're like in the great wild world of unfettered access to the internet, that it's habitual, that they're not just like passively consuming or accepting things at face value, that they have enough healthy suspicion or healthy skepticism or a really healthy dose of critical thinking skills in order to address the problems themselves.
Bottom right corner of the image
Yeah.
It was probably made by them.
Oh, okay. You know, like just make sure like, oh, am I using ChatGPT? Okay, whatever it returns to me, I'm still gonna fact check it. I'm still gonna make sure it's okay. And I think you heard that in the discussion today when the kids were talking about how do we responsibly use information. A lot of them said like it is up to us to verify what we hear, learn, read, see, and we do have to be careful about what we spread. So I think children understand it, but you do have to teach the children to, you do have to tell them that.